Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. All right, we've reached the draft, finally. It has been talked about, speculated about, rumored about, probably more than any draft I can remember. It started early. I think everybody knows more about the players in the top 10 than they ever have. There is so many scenarios that are being presented now. If you follow mock drafts, you would get dizzy. Here's the bottom line. There's going to be a lot of action here. I think there will be a few trades. And I will tell you this. It is a draft that is going to have a lot of twists and turns, and nobody knows exactly what's going to happen here. It is not a draft. Sometimes you can hit a draft where the first 6, 7 players are automatic. This is going there, that's going there, that's going there, that's going there. Not this time. There are 3 distinct position wells in this draft. There's the quarterback group, there's the wide receiver group, there's the offensive tackle group, all premium positions. And as you're going to get a run on each one. You're going to get a run on the quarterbacks to start the draft. You're going to get a run on the wide receivers right after the quarterbacks. And then you're going to get a run on the offensive tackles right after the wide receivers. You're going to have a couple of players sprinkled in, maybe an edge rusher for Atlanta. Obviously, Bowers is going to go here. Now, there are all kinds of crazy rumors about Bowers. The idea of Kansas City trading into the top 3 to get him. Hey, if you're Kansas City and you're going to make the move from where they are to the top of the draft to take a tight end, that would be historic. The cost of that would be astronomical. And to do that to take a tight end is unheard of. Okay, this is a good player. This is a really good player. Barring injury, you can project very good things for this player. I don't think there's any question. He is a legitimate future star tight end. I don't think there's any question. Plus, he's got some versatility. You could use him in different ways. I mean, you can position him in different places. You could play him in different places. So he's an interesting player. I would never knock him. He's a wonderful football player. But where he goes, I do not see any team ever trading a whole draft to get a tight end. That does not happen. That would be something I've never seen before, and I don't expect it to happen. Now, this is the most intriguing first round we've had in a very long time, maybe even going back to the Eli draft. I told you about the 3 distinct pools of players. Plus, we know this. Williams is going 1. He's going to the Bears. He's going 1. If you think somebody else is going 1, forget it. He's going 1. He's been going 1 for 2 years. He's going 1. Now, Washington is going to take a quarterback. They are not going to trade this pick. Daniels has tried very hard to push his way out of Washington, disparaging them, doing the typical stuff that a guy does who doesn't want to be drafted there. That doesn't mean he's not going to get drafted there. Washington's going to take a quarterback. I think they're going to take either Daniels or May, and I think they're going to take Daniels, despite all the other stuff. But it's not automatic. But what's going to happen is this. Quarterbacks are going to go off the board 1, 2. That's where the fun starts. That is where the fun starts. New England and Arizona are definitely in play. They're in play for trades, and Arizona's not taking a quarterback. New England might take a quarterback with 3. We don't know. They could take a quarterback. They could make a trade. They could take Marvin Harrison. The first non-quarterback off the board will be Marvin Harrison Jr. He should be. He's the best player in the draft. He is a can't-miss player. Can't miss. Who does he remind me of? He reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald a little bit. And I think that can't miss. He's going to be a wonderful pro. Does he break up the quarterback string, or do the 4 quarterbacks go off the board? That only happens if there's a trade. If there's no trade, Arizona is going to take Harrison at 4 if he's not taking at 3. So here's what you have. You have Chicago, they're going to take Williams. You have Washington, they're going to take a quarterback, I think Daniels. Then you have New England, which could trade quarterback or Harrison. Then you have Arizona, which could trade or take Harrison. Then you have the Chargers sitting there. And Harbaugh is going to get a really good player. He's going to get a really good football player. He's either going to get Harrison or he's going to get Alt. He's going to take one of the two. He's either going to take the wide receiver or he's going to take the tackle. I don't think he'll take another wide receiver and leave Alt on the board. So if Harrison's gone, I think he takes Alt. If Harrison's there, I think he takes Harrison. Now, Harbaugh is always prone to build his line. So Alt's a real distinct possibility to 5. Now, the Giants go 6. You're going to hear all these rumors the Giants are trading up for a quarterback. I don't think they are. What I hear from people I trust is that the Giants are taking the LSU wide receiver Neighbors over Odunze because they want the speed. I like Odunze a lot. I watch Washington play a lot. I like him a lot. He's really good. He's going to go high. He's going to go real high. He's going to go right after Neighbors, but I think the Giants are taking Neighbors at 6. Then Tennessee goes. They're definitely taking Alt if he's there. If not, do they take another tight end or do they go somewhere else because they didn't get Alt? I'm not sure. Atlanta comes next. They could trade out of that pick. Chicago comes after them. They'll probably take the other wide receiver that's left on the board. And then they come to the Jets. If Alt's on the board, which I don't think is a possibility, the Jets should take him. Then let's go with the possibility that Alt is off the board. All right, so we take Alt out of the equation. Jets get to 10. We take him out of the equation. So now it's, do they take tackle or do they take Bowers? Everybody seems to think they're going to take Bowers. And if they take Bowers, I cannot knock them. I will not go nuts. But if I were them, if I were the Jets, at that pick, I would take the Penn State tackle. They brought in one great player and a couple of very useful players on the offensive line. Smith is he's a Hall of Fame player if he's healthy. Now, last year he was really healthy. He was healthy for most of the year, and he was the number 1 rated offensive lineman in the league in terms of pass blocking. Number 1 in the league. Not okay. He was pretty good. He was the best in the entire league. Do you know what that's going to mean, Aaron Rodgers? But he's got to stay healthy. If I'm the Jets and Alt's gone, if Alt's there, if they don't take him, they're foolish. I don't think Alt's there. So who do they take? A tackle? And I don't even know which tackle they like at that point. There's 2 or 3. I like the Penn State guy. There's 2 or 3 that are very close. I like the Penn State guy. I would take the Penn State tackle over Bowers. But I can't kill them if they take Bowers because I think he's going to be a very good football player. But you don't usually take a tight end that high. And I can tell you, they don't have to have a tight end, a new one. I think they will do better than you think with what they have because of the brilliance of their quarterback and his accuracy and his ability to place the ball. I mean, these guys have never had a guy throw to him like this. This guy is as accurate as any passer who's ever come down the pike. This isn't a good quarterback. This is an all-time great quarterback. This is one of the best quarterbacks who's ever lived. But he's got to stay upright or none of this works. And he is very susceptible to injury now Very, very. That's why you can't get enough protection in front of him. As I told you the whole offseason, when I screamed about Smith for months, you have to treat this the way we treated Namath, and that was we are going to protect him at all costs. Our whole future is built around protecting him. And he was right, and he won a Super Bowl. He didn't win more than one, but he won a Super Bowl. Joe didn't have the career that everyone had hoped for him, but he had his moments. And he was a brilliant player. He just got banged up a lot. Now, at these positions, the quarterback thing is fascinating here because there are a lot of teams looking to trade in to get quarterbacks. Minnesota clearly is. New Orleans would love to, although I keep saying New Orleans. Denver would love to. I keep saying New Orleans because I think of Sean and I think New Orleans. Sean wants to trade for a quarterback. He just doesn't have a lot to work with to trade. He desperately wants to trade for a quarterback. I don't think he can get into the top 4 with his group. I don't think he has any chance. I think he could get into the 12 to 15 area and take Knicks after the 4 quarterbacks are gone. I think that's a distinct possibility. And Knicks has got some qualities that I go way back with Sean. I understand I know what he thinks. I know what he likes. And Knicks fits a lot of what he likes. He's demanding of his quarterbacks, and he wants certain things from his quarterbacks. And Knicks brings a lot of what he wants. And remember, Knicks is not a baby. He's 24 years old. He's been around the block. He should be able to move in and handle a pro offense a lot quicker than a lot of guys. He's got to work on a couple of things. All right. There's a couple of things that are, need a little refinement. That's fine. But I think Knicks can walk in and play. And I think Denver has their eye on Knicks. So you have Williams going 1. You have Daniels and May going off the board very quickly after that. And then you have McCarthy, who could go as high as 4 and could go as low as, say, 10 or 12. Whoever trades in anywhere, probably go 9 or 8. Somebody would trade in. Atlanta would trade. Bears would trade. So somebody who really wants him. And there are teams that like him. I think he's off the board. So here's what I think. I think the 3 quarterbacks are going off the boards in the first 4 picks, and I think McCarthy's going off the board before 10, and maybe even as high as 4. I think Knicks goes off the board before 15, and I think Penix probably goes off the board at either the end of the 1 or the beginning of the 2. Then you have Rattler from South Carolina, and Pratt, who's a functional quarterback from Tulane. You have Travis from Florida State who got hurt. You have Milton from Tennessee, who some people like. Probably more of a 3 or 4. But those are your top 10 quarterbacks. Williams, Daniels, May, McCarthy, Nix, Penix Jr., Rattler, Pratt, Travis, Milton. The 3 wide receivers are going off in the top 10 picks. Harrison, who's the best player in the draft, the quarterbacks are going to go before him. Either 2 or 3 are going to go before him. He's going to be the first other player off the board after the quarterbacks. Neighbors is going very high. I think the Giants are taking him at 6. I don't say he's going to go right after that. He could go 7. He could go 8. He could go 9. He could go anywhere in there. Then you have a bunch of other guys who people like Mitchell and Thomas and Franklin and McConkey and Pearsall and Worthy. And so there's a whole lot of wide receivers. There always are. And then you have the tight ends. The tackles. There's a lot of tackles. There's going to be probably Probably 6 tackles taken in the first. There's going to be 6 offensive tackles, I think, taken in the first round. 6. That's a lot. All's going very high. Could go as high as 5 to the Chargers. I don't think he goes before that because of the quarterbacks in Harrison, but I think he could go as high as 5. Then you have the Penn State guy. You got the guy from Oregon State. You got the guy from Washington. You got Latham from Alabama. You got Mims from Georgia. You got a lot of tackles going off the board. A lot of tackles. There aren't a lot of great defensive players in this draft. You know, everyone thinks Atlanta's going defense. I'm not sure they are. They might get wrapped up in one of the offensive guys still, but everyone thinks they're going edge rusher. You got the kid Mitchell. Bowers is going very high. And then after you get to like 10, 11, you're going to start to roll out some defensive guys. So there's not a dominant, crazy, has to go in the top 3 picks defensive guy in this draft. This is going to be an offensive draft throughout the top 10 picks. Maybe one defensive guy goes in the top 10. One. Maybe one. And maybe none, which is unusual. I mean, you're talking about no top 10 picks. Maybe one. Atlanta. That might be the only team that takes a defensive guy in the top 10 picks. So you're not going to have a lot of defense at the top of the draft. So then between 10 and 20, between 12 and 20, you're going to get a lot of defensive players off the board. Edge rushers and corners, etc. You know, that's what goes off the board there. Once in a while, tackle, Texas tackle. Safeties don't go off the board that high unless there's something really special. You know, they can be you get a special player there, but if you don't get a special player there, he's not going that high at safety. There are certain positions that don't go off the board that high. You know, safety, usually tight end, guard, those positions, they don't get drafted that high. Running back. Will there be a running back in the first round? Maybe not. There might not be a running back in the first round. And if there is one, he's probably going in the 20s. Unusual? Not that unusual anymore. That's one of the positions that doesn't get drafted that high. You know what positions get drafted high. The dominant lineman, offensive or defensive, is going very high. The quarterback obviously is going very high. The game-breaking, speedy wide receiver is going very high. And then the corner is going very high. That's it. Those are your 4 positions that a defensive edge, an edge rusher, an offensive tackle, a great corner, a wide receiver, but of course, first come the quarterbacks. And you do have a tight end in Bowers who's special. He's going to go high. I don't think he goes before the Jets, but even that's high. I think the Giants, from everything I hear and from people I trust, that they have settled not on trading up for a quarterback, which the rumor is they like May. The word is, or the buzz is, they like May. But I don't see them trading up to get him. I think they are going to take the speed guy they want. I think they want a game-breaking wide receiver, and I think everything I hear, and from good sources, that they're taking the LSU guy at 6. I don't have any information about the Jets, but I think with the Jets, it's either take a tackle or take the tight end. It's one or the other, and most people have them taking the tight end. If Alt were on the board, I would absolutely take Alt. Alt will not be on the board. I'd say it's less than a 5% chance Alt's on the board. So it's, do they take the second offensive tackle or do they take the tight end? I don't know which one they're going to take. I have no information on that. So I trust the people who I've heard from about the Giants that they like neighbors. I haven't heard anything from the Jets. I can't see them taking anything except a tackle or Bowers. And I would take the Penn State tackle over Bowers. I would take Alt over either of them. And if the Penn State tackle and Alt are both off the board, then I think they're definitely going to take Bowers. But they could like another tackle. I mean, the tackles are pretty, there's about 4 tackles who are inside top 15. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of difference between the Penn State tackle and the other tackles. Alt's number 1. I mean, I think Alt's going to be an all-pro. He's got everything. His dad was a top player. The kid's a top player. The kid's got he has no weaknesses as a player. He's got great size. He comes from a terrific background. I mean, he's got everything. He's like, can't miss. Really, he's the kind of guy that you can sleep well when you take that pick. It's going to be very, very good. 2 years from now, he's like, wow, they got him. He's going to be there for a decade. It's like when you get one of those great offensive linemen and you just plug him in and you leave him there. Now, do I think he's going to be Anthony Munoz? But I think he's going to be real good. I think he's going to be there every year, and you're not going to have to worry about him. You can plug him in for a decade. Right from day one, plug him in for a decade. I don't think there's any question about that. This is a very busy time, obviously. You got baseball underway as we head towards May. You got the Kentucky Derby right around the corner, and we'll do plenty on that. You have, obviously, the NBA. As a matter of fact, the Knicks are playing Thursday night. I mean, Thursday night is going to be an amazing night. You're going to have the draft, which could cover everything. I mean, it's wall to wall. And you're going to have the Knicks at 7:30. And you're going to have the Islanders playing at 7:30 off their crushing Game 2 loss against the Hurricanes. So you got a lot going on. The Rangers are playing Friday in Game 3 after going up 2-0 last night with their win against the Caps. But you got a lot going on. You got a Knick playoff game in Philly. Going to be very interesting. That series, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. We'll preview that Game 3 tomorrow. But series is a long way from over. Long way from over. So now, let's talk about that for a second. Is it a big deal that the NBA came out and said Maxey got fouled twice? If you watched the play, you knew Maxey got fouled. I mean, Brunson grabbed her by the jersey. I couldn't tell if Nurse called timeout or not. I'll take him at his word that he did. So they missed the timeout. They can miss timeouts. Hey, is it the end of the world that they missed a foul? No. Did they miss a foul? Yes. I said it yesterday. I told you yesterday he got fouled. He got fouled. There's no question he got fouled. Was it a big deal? Hey, it happens. Philly still had plenty of chances to win the game. And they screwed everything up. Remember, it started with them missing a free throw. Then they couldn't secure their glass because the offensive rebound that sets up the game winner from Dante is one of the great offensive rebounds you're ever going to see. And the wherewithal from it to go to OG and OG then to make the quick pass to Dante and Dante come right back with the second shot confidently. Hey, they still had 13 seconds. Maxey, who they have not stopped even a little. He's hit them with some bombs. He's gone to the basket with abandon. He's averaged 34.5 points a game in the series. Hey, but he's also out of control sometimes, and he was out of control at the end of the game. He didn't handle that possession well when he got fouled, but he didn't handle the possession well. The thing that you do there is you just call timeout and advance the ball. You don't want to inbound the ball there. I mean, I could not believe a veteran team inbounded the ball there. There's no reason to inbound the ball. Call timeout. He said he called timeout, but hey, the players should be smart enough to call timeout there. You don't want to inbound the ball there and inbound it in a hurry. Why? What's your rush? Just call timeout. You got the ball in the front court. So the first thing you do is get it away from your basket. It's rudimentary, elementary. Get the ball away from your basket right there. Just call timeout. The ball's away from your basket. This isn't college. Trying to beat them, getting the ball in bounds, rushing. Now, did Brunson grab him by the jersey? Yes. Did they knock him to the floor? Yes. So, hey, it happens. Now, is that the end of the world? No. Does it give them something to complain about? Good. Let them complain about it. So, they can't worry about themselves. They know they're going to run into a buzzsaw in Game 3. Philly's going to be mad. They're mad about the fact they blew that game. They've distinctly won some matchups in the series anyway. They've done an incredible job on Brunson in the first 2 games. And let's be honest, they've done a great job with him all year. They have a bunch of guys who can give him a hard time. I told you for the last 2 months that Brunson was going to have to battle size in the playoffs. That was going to be completely different when they dedicated themselves to stopping him. And he's got to play over bigger players now. And he's got to play against a defense that is dedicated to stopping him because they don't have a guy that they fear. Oh, no, we can't do that because this guy's going to be open. They're not worried about someone being open. And listen, they've decided to leave Hart open. First game, he hurt them. Second game, he didn't. In the clutch part of the game. They're going to leave him open. They made it very clear they're going to leave him open. They're going to let him shoot it. Now, if he keeps making it, you got to stop it, but we all know he's not a great shooter. We knew there were going to be issues with the Knicks offense in this series. What there hasn't been issues with is the Knicks effort. And I am sure Nurse, who is a very good coach, has spent the last couple of days working on the other players, meaning other than Embiid and Maxey. Maxey you have to work on in a different way. Embiid, it's about his health. And it did not look good. He stayed on the floor, but he couldn't move. He couldn't get off the floor. He didn't get a rebound. He was getting pushed around under the basket. I mean, he looked bad in the fourth quarter. I know he can score, but he could always score. He looked bad. I understand his line looks good, but he was struggling mightily. Now he's got an extra day off, which should help him. Plus, if you're Nurse, what you want to do is you want to get your team into a frenzy here because, first of all, you're going to spend 2 days pounding them how we have to match their, not just their physicality, we have to match their intensity. They're ripping balls out of our hands. When we go up for a ball together, they get every one of them. They're getting every 50-50 ball. That can't continue. First ball that's loose, I bet you'll see 3 Sixers on the floor. That is what they are going to be pounding into the players, especially the non-Embiid Maxey players on that team. Their role players are going to play a lot better in Philly. But I don't want to spend all my time on that. We'll do that tomorrow. I'll get deep into Game 3 tomorrow before the game. And then we'll do one after. But we got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow night. We got to do draft stuff after round 1. We got to do Knicks stuff after they play. So we got a lot of work to do. So, and you'll get plenty of podcasts covering all this stuff. Now, you were going to in the next, if you're a draft, Nick, and a lot of you are, the NFL has done an incredible job incredible. First of all, the NFL is smart. Okay, I get angry at the NFL many times. They've always been smart. They were a lot smarter under Rozelle than they are under Goodell, but they're still smart. They have turned the draft, which is a non-event, into a cottage industry. I mean, they take it from city to city now. I mean, there'll be a huge crowd in Detroit tomorrow for this game, for this draft. First of all, Detroit's all wound up about going to the Super Bowl this year anyway, and how good their team is. And rightly so. They've waited a long time for a good team, and they have one. The draft has become an incredible television vehicle, a cottage industry. There are a lot of people who make their money, their livelihood off the draft the entire year. I mean, it's the age of specialization, but it's amazing you could make your whole year about 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. That's all it is. But there are so many people paying attention to this. You're going to now turn on shows today or go to the NFL Network today or wherever and hear about your team. And the rumors in this draft are wild. There are so many stories and so many rumors and so many teams they have trading up and doing this and doing that and doing this. You'll even see people telling you that Williams isn't going to be the first player picked. Nonsense. He's going to be the first player picked. If he's not the first player picked, you got a scoop. But I saw, I looked and I just happened to see it because it was the headline in the mock draft because, you could read mock drafts all day. Got May going 1. If Williams isn't the first player picked, I'll be the most stunned person in America. Am I saying he is as automatic as Luck was? No. Is he talented? Yes. There's some things about him you worry about, though. First of all, 1 is his size. 2, he's a little bit of an odd duck. So worries about you when you're taking him first in the draft because you're making a huge commitment to him. I mean, he becomes automatically the face of your franchise when you do this. But this kid has been going number 1 for 2 years. If you've watched him play, if you've seen him be analyzed, if you've noticed all the different things, hey, he didn't make a lot of friends going through the rituals of the offseason that the NFL uses to pick and prod and learn about their players. He wasn't big on any of that. He didn't care. He knew he was going number 1. And he was like, hey, you don't want to take me number 1? Good, someone else will take me. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. He wasn't worried about it. He was cocky because he's been going number 1 for 2 years. Everybody knows it. Even last year, they were talking about how he'd go number 1 this year. He's not like a surprise. But it has, I go back, I hearken back to the night before the Eli draft. And there were crazy rumors. And we went and did that draft, meaning we did it on the radio, Dog and I. I don't know if we did it. We definitely did it to the fan, but I think we also did it for Westwood One or somewhere. We were doing the draft for somebody. So we had a whole setup at the draft and everything, and we were there early on Saturday morning and the whole thing. And I remember talking to Quasi, I think it was Friday. And I remember him telling me distinctly, I'll be happy with either quarterback. He liked him and he liked Roethlisberger. He liked Eli, and Ernie always went on the adage, and he's dead right. And it's something I heard him preach many times, and I could not agree more. He always said, you never have too many good quarterbacks. If there's a good quarterback you can add to your team, add him. If he's good, don't worry about it. His value will come out somewhere. You'll trade him. You'll do this. You'll use him. You'll have him in a pinch. Hey, he believed in you couldn't have too many good quarterbacks. And he's right. Because most of the time you don't. And he was a real big quarterback guy. Well, first of all, because he'd been around John Unitas, so that was really his upbringing. And Unitas is the father of modern football quarterbacking. The modern era of the NFL was built by John Unitas. Yes, Vince Lombardi, but on the field, it was the field general and, the quarterback becoming the supreme being. And that was started really with John Unitas. Otto Graham, but really John Unitas. Johnny U, as they called him. If you're not familiar with Johnny Unitas, look him up. He is the father of the great modern quarterback. And so Archie did not want Eli going to San Diego. So that was in the works. They were pushing a trade. They were looking to get to the Giants. They were looking not to go to San Diego. And you had these quarterbacks at the top of the draft. And it was going to be very interesting how it all played out. And the rumors the night before were insane. There was a rumor every 2 minutes about what was happening and who was coming up to one and who was doing this and who was doing that. So we're in that same scenario now. You have some teams that have added picks just to get into the top 5, like Minnesota, who have made it very clear it is their not only desire, their game plan is to get into the beginning of this draft and get themselves the quarterback they want. So Washington is taking a quarterback. And I think despite Daniels trying to do everything he can to disparage the franchise, I think he's still going second. So that leaves May and McCarthy on the board. And two teams that are willing to trade in New England and Arizona, and that's where the fun starts. Do I think there will be a trade in the 3 or 4 slots? I do. I think it's more likely 4 than 3. I don't think New England upsets the apple cart and takes Harrison 3. I think they take a quarterback if they keep the pick. I think they keep the pick, and I think they take May. That's what I think. So now you have the 4 slot, and that's where Minnesota goes into Arizona and gets the Michigan quarterback 4, which means Harbaugh wakes up and then he decides, do I want Alteron Harrison? And he says, I really believe in building on the offensive line, but this guy's too good to pass up. With my quarterback, now I have a pitch and catch game that's unstoppable, which he has. So write down 100 catches for Harrison if he goes to the Chargers. And I think if Harbaugh is faced with Alt and Harrison, he takes Harrison. I think he's happy with Alt if Harrison's off the board. But I think with his quarterback, he takes Harrison. Harrison is a future All-Pro. I can't miss. So I think he takes him. So I think, and I'm giving you now what I think is the most likely scenario for the draft. Is it going to happen this way? It could easily change. Williams is going 1. There's no disputing that. I think Daniels is going 2. I think New England takes May 3. I think they don't trade the pick, and they don't take Harrison. Then I think Arizona trades out to Minnesota, and Minnesota takes the Michigan quarterback. So now the quarterbacks are off the board 1, 2, 3, 4, which means Harbaugh jumps and takes Harrison at 5, leaves Alt on the board. Giants are up at 6. They take the LSU wide receiver at 6. So they take him off the board at 6. And so that leaves Adunze on the board as a wide receiver. It leaves Alt on the board. Tennessee comes up 7 and grabs Alt. 8, I don't know what Atlanta does. I admit I don't have any idea what Atlanta does. They've been talking defense, edge rusher. Maybe they take an edge rusher there. Maybe they can't pass up Adunze. Maybe they make a trade. Bears are 9. I think if Adunze's on the board, they take him there to go with their new quarterback. And then the Jets have to pick between a tackle and Bowers. And gun to my head, I think the Jets are taking Bowers. I think they'll take Bowers. I would take the tackle. I think they're taking Bowers. I would not knock them if they take Bowers, as long as Alt's off the board. If Alt's on the board, they got to take Alt. If Alt's off the board, which I think he absolutely will be, if they take Bowers, I can't yell. I think he's a really good player. I would have rather had the insurance that the first-round tackle gives me. Well, what are you taking a left tackle for? You have one. You have one for 2 years with Smith if you're lucky. You might only get one good year out of him. You hope you get one good year out of him. You had to take that risk because he's a great player. And maybe get 2 years out of him. You could start this kid at right tackle and then move him to left tackle. Or he gives you insurance. I think that reason, the fact that they don't look at him as a starter on opening day, makes them take Bowers. So I just gave you what I think is the most logical top 10. And it has the Giants taking Neighbors and the Jets taking Bowers. I think the Giants are taking Neighbors. I think the Jets are taking Bowers or attacking. I think they're taking Bowers. So I think I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. The only thing that would upset that for the Jets is if Alt's on the board, they have to take him. But I don't think, like I said, I think it's less than 5% he would be on the board. If Harrison's gone, Alt's going 5 to Chargers. And if Alt's still on the board at 7, I think Tennessee's taking him. So you'll read all these different things. You have mocks that have Bowers going 3. You have mocks that have Adunze going 4. I mean, so there's stuff all over the place. You're going to hear a million of it. You're going to hear a million quarterback scenarios with the 4 quarterbacks. The fun's going to start at pick number 3. Washington's going to keep their pick and take a quarterback. It's either Daniels or May. I think they take Daniels. And Williams is going 1. So it's going to be quarterback, and then the fun starts. Because New England has options. Arizona has options. And that will set up what happens behind it, going all the way back through the Giants and through the Jets. Like we said, we have a busy, busy time. We will have a Nick preview and some other things thrown in tomorrow. We'll put that up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow night, we will do a NFL draft podcast after the Jets pick. So I'll have the Giant pick, the Jet pick, and the first 10 picks. That will be a podcast. And a podcast after the Knick game, which will be game 3, which is 7:30 tomorrow night, same time the draft starts. So we will have 2 distinct podcasts up tomorrow night. We'll do 2 different ones. One Knick one and a draft one. And one tomorrow. So you'll have 3 new podcasts tomorrow. Like I said, it's a busy week. We'll see you later.